Round 1. Fight!
Prepare for defeat.
Oof! You no win!
Oi!
Yeah, keep it up, meatheads. Kick some ass.
How insulting.
Totally uncalled for.
I refuse to work under such abhorrent conditions.
Definitely reporting this to Human Resources. Victory! Nepal Mandiath wins!
Huh? Hey, Dave, I just beat a couple of gladiators by insulting them. I think I'm a bard.
Combat is an integral part of the Dungeons & Dragons game, with the lion's share of the rules detailing enemies, items, spells, and features used in combat encounters. But much of this combat takes place in dangerous wilderness or while delving through old dungeons, and are usually fights to the death. Battles in urban regions are less common, with fewer deadly enemies to deal with and access to healing and restorative items closer at hand. Yet even though such battles may be suitable for newer adventurers, there's a catch. City combat already has its share of problems. Many urban areas have laws against carrying weapons in town, leaving your party relatively defenseless should a fight break out. Dealing with a gang of back alley thugs will likely attract the city guard, forcing the party to explain their actions or wind up in the stockade. And if it's the guards who decide to harass the PCs, taking actions against them could bring the wrath of the entire city militia. But there's another way to introduce non-lethal urban combat to your setting. In fact, you can provide this type of combat to your players with a quick trip to the arena, where gladiators battle against one another for riches and glory. The threats are real and the stakes are high, yet death is rarely on the line. This gives low-level adventurers a chance to get their feet wet in combat without having to roll up a new character right after their first encounter. Meanwhile, experienced PCs can also enjoy this venue as they take on tougher combatants and achieve greater standing within the sport. So today we'll be looking at the Batchelor Arena, a location you can drop into any large town or city in your campaign world. Here, your party will have an opportunity to test their skills in battle before venturing out into the wild, and they might even find a few adventures within these blood-stained walls. House Batchelor has always been a prominent noble family, but it wasn't until they began construction on a gladiatorial arena in the middle of the city that they became a household name. Citizens poured in when the arena first opened, but the fights weren't spectacular enough to hold their attention for long. First blood matches eventually transformed into longer duels that forced the loser into submission, yet the crowds wanted more. Sponsoring and training gladiators was an expensive endeavor, so letting them fight to the death wasn't a viable option. In order to sate the people's bloodlust, House Batchelor hired beastmasters to bring in wild animals that could be slaughtered in matches on a whim. City officials were bribed to allow criminals scheduled for execution to fight one another until only one survived. Bounty hunters were called in to add more exotic gladiators to the roster, sometimes against their will. And so the Batchelor Arena maintained its crowds and its profits. Though a few have spoken out against the practices of the noble family, they have all been silenced in one way or another. But how long until attendance falters once more and House Batchelor must raise the stakes again? And when that happens, who will be the next to suffer? Felix Proudmane, an accomplished warrior and chieftain, was once the majestic leader of a tribe of Leonine Tabaxi, but when bounty hunters from the arena came to his land in search of new combatants, he and his tribe fought against them fang and claw, yet the small tribe was outmatched and soon faltered. Unwilling to let his kinsfolk die to such barbarism, Felix offered himself as tribute to the hunters, agreeing to fight in the arena. Now a seasoned veteran of the sport, Felix has grown fond of these tests of strength and prowess, yet loathes the reason he must continue fighting. The Tabaxi Lord has been given the freedom to visit his tribe once a month, but knows that should he fail to return to the arena, the hunters would finish the job they once started. And so he continues to battle the other gladiators in the hopes of eventually freeing himself and his tribe from this tyranny. Hanchi is a half-orc wrestler who has made a name for himself in the arena by fighting only with his bare hands and astounding bulk. Growing up as an outcast of his own tribe, the pig-nosed half-orc, known as Hog at that time, set out on his own to distance himself from the insults and harassment of the pure-blooded orcs. Weak and starving after days of travel, he eventually reached an isolated village of humans and half-elves. Startled by the half-orc's sudden appearance, they attacked the perceived threat using their martial arts training. Hogg did his best to defend himself, but was greatly outnumbered, yet the half-orc managed to stand his ground. Even in the midst of combat, he was impressed by the unarmed fighting style of his attackers, while the villagers were equally impressed by his ability to remain standing. A truce was declared, and Hogg was welcomed into the village. In time, the half-orc learned the ways of the villagers and became a skilled martial artist. He even earned a new name, Hanchi Butahana. With this new name and a unique fighting style at his fingertips, he set out to test his skills. He eventually discovered the Gladiator Arena and used it as a place to hone his talents. A convicted Yuan-Ti prisoner turned victorious gladiator, Nadja de Pale is an oddity at the arena. Condemned to death, Nadja was given a chance to earn back her life by competing in a prisoner match. After killing all the other bloodthirsty inmates in that battle, she went on to rise to the ranks of competing gladiators, earning a sponsorship by the arena founders, the noble de Pale family. Now an honorary member of House de Pale, Nadja enjoys a life of luxury and bloodshed. Her quarters in the arena grounds are lavish, and her skill on the arena floor is unmatched. While the Snake Woman never enters the city proper without an escort, Nadja is often paraded through the streets to garner attention for her benefactors and their arena, and she revels in the glory of it all. Whether or not your PCs decide to join the arena, their first introduction could be an invitation to a match accompanied by a friendly wager. While entry fees grant House de Pale a modest income, their biggest profit comes from sanctioned gambling. You can set up a variety of matches with a range of odds. All you need is a name and basic description of the combatants and what percentage chance each one has to win. If you decide that a new challenger only has a 5% chance to win, roll a d20 for the result. On a roll of 2 through 20, the favored gladiator takes the win, but on a 1, the underdog is victorious. Winnings can also be determined using these odds. In the previously mentioned match, if the PCs bet on the favorite, they would win back their bet plus 5%, although half of the extra money they gained would be taken by the house as a fee. If, on the other hand, they wagered on the long shot, they would earn 20 times their original bet. The de Pale Arena has far more to offer than simple one-on-one gladiator matches. Specialty fights include team matches between groups of allied gladiators, beast matches where gladiators slay ferocious animals, challenge matches in which a new combatant must score a single hit on a popular gladiator in a limited amount of time, and the rare prisoner matches where condemned criminals slay one another to escape a death sentence and become full-fledged gladiators. Once your party joins, they'll be able to engage in many of these matches, but hopefully not the last one, unless that's where your story leads. As members of the arena, characters have access to a range of goods and services. Exotic weapons from distant lands are available for use or sale from time to time, although these deadly items may be limited to gladiator combat rather than personal use. Magical and medicinal healing are provided for gladiators after each match as part of their contract, along with other restorative services depending on their standing and popularity. These services are also available outside of arena combat at a reduced fee. If you use optional rules for gaining additional skills during campaign play, gladiators can engage in a grueling exercise routine held by arena trainers over the course of a week that will push their body to the limit, granting them proficiency in the athletic skill once complete. In addition to membership at the arena, this training costs 100 gold pieces, which is generally deducted from the gladiators' winnings. Being a regular combatant in the arena comes with certain restrictions, but the benefits are palpable. A special diet, daily exercise and meditation, and a standard sleep schedule are a must for gladiators. However, individuals who follow this routine prior to taking a long rest at the arena dormitory gain advantage on constitution saves for the next 24 hours. Taking part in gladiatorial matches is only half the fun in the arena, as plenty of intrigue happens behind the scenes. Consider using these adventure hooks when introducing your party to the arena, or to provide them with additional activities after they join. Missing in action. A popular new gladiator is scheduled for a match but hasn't checked in yet. The PCs witnessed some thugs kidnapping him outside the arena. The kidnappers were hired by an old rival of the gladiator from before his days in the arena. Pack tactics. A wild-shaped druid allows herself to be captured by the arena crew in order to rescue her wolf companion. The wolf is scheduled for a beast match with the PCs. Will the party aid the druid in saving her animal friend and risk being banned from the arena? Or will they allow the match to continue as planned for the sake of their own fame and fortune? Snake Eyes. Nadja de Pale recently embarrassed a young nobleman new to the arena, and now has a price on her head as ordered by the nobleman's father. The PCs may need to defend the Yuan-Ti gladiator from would-be assassins, or they could be the ones tasked with fulfilling the contract to publicly murder the Snake Woman in an arena match. That does it for this episode. If your players are looking for some competitive combat or just want to gamble a few gold pieces, then a trip to the Gladiator Arena might do the trick. Until next time, I'm David Watches.
And I'm Napoleon Diaz.
And thanks for watching. Special thanks to my longtime friend Bill Batchelor for creating the logo for this channel, and to Dylan Smith for the character art used in this and other videos. I couldn't have done it without them. I'd also like to thank Spartan Bodie for voicing the announcer and gladiators in today's skit. If you'd like to hear more of Spartan Bodie, you can find a link to his live play D&D podcast, The Nominal Tales, in the description below.
For more D&D tips, check out these hot videos.